Hey guys, it's Marty from owingsart.com, and thanks for stopping by today as we take a look at these Lyra Rembrandt Aquarell high quality watercolor pencils. There's 12 in this particular set, a nice variety of colors. You see there's reds and blues and greens in here, so that'll be great to take a look at. Lyra pencils and the Rembrandt brand is made in Germany. This particular set was made in Nuremberg, Germany, but they do manufacture throughout the world, including Mexico, China, France, and Italy. This is a great little pencil set. We're going to take a look at this today. It comes in this very nice tin, good variety of colors, as I mentioned, and they try to produce pencils of a pretty high quality. And these watercolor pencils that we're going to take a look at today try to live up to that claim by Lyra. Lyra is also a Fila brand, not to be confused with the Fila tennis shoes or sportswear apparel. It's just an Italian company, and the Lyra brand falls under the Fila group. So anyway, the first thing I want to do is today is pull a couple of pencils out and take a closer look at them. One thing I noticed was that the pencils are a little tough when they're brand new to get out of the tin. You can see I struggle a little bit to remove a pencil from the tin. They're pretty tightly packed, which in some ways is really good because during shipping and when the containers jostled around, you don't have to worry too much about breakage. Now you can see this is a nice six-sided hexagonal pencil. Now they'll make the pencil hexagonal like this so that it doesn't roll off a tilted work surface like a artist table or a drafting table. So that's nice. Now looking at the core of this pencil, it's a full, like I said, 4mm core. And just to revisit that a little bit, like I said, that there's a little bit more expense and money that goes into making a pencil like that, and that really benefits the end user because it means that you're going to use over the life of a pencil. You're not going to be going through pencils as quickly, so you have to buy fewer pencils in the end. Maybe it's not noticeable over one or two pencils, but you extrapolate over the life of a pencil, it really does become significant, especially if you're going to pay a little bit extra for a higher quality pencil. You'd like it to last a little bit longer. So you get more life from the things that you enjoy if they're made well. So here I'm just starting out laying down some color. I started with a white here, and you can't see it on the white paper, but it laid down pretty nicely. It's easier for me to see at an angle here. I'll try the yellow next, and you can see this is what Lyra calls a lemon. The other thing that I like about the Rembrandt pencil line and what Lyra does with their pencils is they label the color right on the pencil. And I know that if you're a regular and you watch the channel a lot, you're going to hear me say that a lot. I really like it when they put the color name right there. You don't have to dig around for a color chart on a website or try to hunt that down or memorize a series of numbers to know which color you're going to use. And people say, well, why would you worry about that? Because the color is on the end of the pencil, and sometimes the pencils are colored themselves. Well, very simple. Some people are colorblind or have some vision problems or whatever and might not see colors clearly. That's a really good opportunity for them to misuse a pencil or put down the wrong color. But if the name or the color name is labeled right on the pencil, it works great for the end user. And it does no harm to you, and I don't think it really costs very much to label the pencil with the color name. Now here I'm adding water. I'm using a water pen here to add water to these colors here, and you can see they dissolve quite nicely for the most part. Now what I'm looking for here, is there any residual line work left underneath after I add the water? Is it dissolving pretty well? And these do okay there. The dissolvability is up there with higher quality pencils, I would say, although not perfect. Maybe not as good as the Museum Aquarell made by Caran d'Ache, or the Supracolor, that's also a Caran d'Ache pencil, that's a Swiss pencil. But these did quite nicely, as you can see. And watercolors, when you add water at first, they're a lot brighter and more vivid than when they dry. So we'll look at the color here again once this has had a chance to dry. But here I'm just going to go through, lay out all the colors, and then do a little mixing here to see how well the colors get along. Okay, well that's, while I'm cranking through the color mixing, I just want to spend a second or two talking about quality, because a lot of folks ask me on the channel about quality, and oftentimes it comes down to value proposition or how much money they should spend on a particular pencil or brands or whatever like that. And I always like to say this to them, and something somebody told me a long time ago, and so just trying to pay it forward, is that quality is rarely cheap and cheap is rarely quality. So when I say that, I mean, if you spend 20 bucks on a pencil set and you find out it doesn't work very well, and then you spend another 20 bucks and you find out that one doesn't work pretty well or very well for you, maybe the pigment's not right, maybe there's too much breakage, maybe it's just cheaply made, or you're just not getting the color you want, and then you decide, well, I'm going to go a third time and buy another set, and you spend another $20. Now there you've spent $60, and if you could have taken that $60 and just bought a single set that would have satisfied you, made you happy, and done the job for you, I think you're way ahead of the game. Because remember, it's not just that, it's not just remembering to do that after you bought the new set. You may never know that you would have gone terribly wrong if you bought 3 other sets at $20. But for the people who buy the cheaper stuff over and over, they find that out. And not only that, but if they're smart, they end up buying the more expensive set later on anyway. So now they spend $120 to get to the same place that the person who spent $60 by sort of just investing a little bit more in quality. So the Central European and European countries, England, Germany, Italy, France, places like Switzerland, they produce really high quality materials and goods when it comes to pencils and art supplies, because they come to find out that, wow, I can really keep customers and keep people happy, and they'll build a brand loyalty that way. So the value proposition is there for them to do it, and it's incentive. Now for other companies that mass produce things, you got to ask yourself, what are they in it for? And getting back to these Lyra pencils, I mean, look how well they layer down as a dry pencil. People sometimes ask, can I use a watercolor pencil dry? Of course you can, and they work great. But once you add a little water to them, they're going to turn into watercolor. So just be mindful of that, depending on your application or what you plan to use them for. Now here, I'm going to do a little eraser test, and you can see here on the dry pencil marks, eraser works pretty well, about like you'd expect from any color pencil. But once you get the watercolor down, they don't erase very well. So they're pretty permanent to the paper. They sink into the fibers. The colors there, it's pretty vibrant in the fibers of the paper, and it's pretty permanent. So you won't get the opportunity to sort of erase the watercolor very easily anyway once it's down on the paper. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, and so next we'll try a little sharpening of these pencils, because everybody always wants to know, well, how well do pencils sharpen? How will they hold up? How easy is it to turn the pencil and all that stuff? And you can see these sharpen up really good. I mean, and they turn nicely. It helps to have a good sharpener. If you don't have a good sharpener, you'll notice immediately the kind of damage it'll do to your pencil. So invest in a decent sharpener. I have a video. I'll post a link to it. Go check it out. It's about how to sharpen a pencil, and I demonstrate some different pencil sharpeners and techniques there. So the next thing I'm going to do here is take a little bit of the pencil shaving, the color, the pigment that comes from the core. Why waste it, right? Because you can actually use it. It's good watercolor material. So I'll put it on the paper here, and you can see, look what happens when I add a little bit of water here. It really is fantastic. And look at all that vibrant color. I love the pigment that comes out of these Rembrandts. It's pretty amazing, and I just love it. It's definitely worth mentioning that you can take this pencil and any of these colors, and you can dip them right into water and then apply it that way as well. So that's an interesting way to use a watercolor pencil. Also, I wanted to mention that I've got some notes here that I'll share. There's 72 colors in the line, and there's a really nice variety of colors in the entire line. This just happens to be the 12 pencil set, but you can pick it up in a variety of sets, including 12, 24, 36, and I think 72. I'll mention again that the color is printed right on the pencil, which is a great thumbs up to that. Great pigments, rich colors, and so far they dissolve really nicely. So now we're going to take a look at a drawing. I'm going to do a little drawing of a few spheres. And I always like drawing spheres. People ask me, why do you always draw spheres, Marty? Because I think it gives me an opportunity to sort of stretch the pencil a little bit, to put it to the test, if you will. You can do layers with them, and coloring and reductive techniques, and in the end what you find is that you've put the pencil through some pretty good paces, and you've got a nice little sphere at the end of it. So that's your kind of reward at the end. So here I'm going to add a little bit of water to the spheres, a little from the water pen, and you can see how vibrant and bright those colors, they just really pop. And yeah, I've got several layers down here, so I'm getting a nice feel for the transparency and the opaque properties of the pencil and the color. And I really like the way they work, and especially when you talk about like complementary colors and things like that. The color is really interesting. I'm really impressed by these Lyra Rembrandt Aquarell pencils. They're very nice. So a little bit on pricing. So this set cost me about $18. This is the 12 pencil set. You can get a 24 pencil set for around $36. And then they make a 36 pencil set for right around $54. And then if you want to get the entire line, all the pencils, all 72 of them, well, that'll set you back about $110 US. But when you think about the quality and the investment here, and you compare them, which I'm going to do here in a minute, to similar pencils, the value proposition is pretty good from what I can tell so far. Now, these still have to go through my light test. I put all of the pencils I use and watercolors and all the materials I use to the light fast test to make sure they are light fast. But if you listen to others and other YouTubers who've tested them already, and you go to some other sources, they are supposed to be pretty light fast. So more on that later. By the way, my source for pricing on this is dickblick.com. They're a U.S. art supply retailer. You have to check your local stores and stuff like that and see if they sell them at around the same price. So now time for a little comparison against the other sort of higher end colored pencils. First of all, here's some of the things I really liked about the Lyra. They're really vibrant. Now here you can see against the Faber-Castell Art Grip pencil, the colors stack up really well. I think the Lyra Rembrandt beats those pencils pretty well in terms of the vibrancy and the pigment. But against a Museum Aquarell pencil, the Caran d'Ache, which is sort of the gold standard of watercolor color pencils, you can see the dissolvability is a little bit better in the Caran d'Ache. Well, actually pretty pronounced better. But the color is about the same. Now the Derwent ink tints are going to be very bright in color, but again, they're not as light fast. And I've tested those and they aren't. Now these are the ErgoSoft watercolor pencils made by Stettler, and you can see that there's still a lot of line work left under the color, and the vibrancy isn't quite the same. I mean, also the yellows and the lighter colors tend to fade a little bit faster. Again, compared to the Art Grip Aquarell, they beat them. That's a better pencil, but they're not quite as good as, say, a Faber-Castell Albrecht Dürer pencil, which is sort of Faber-Castell's higher end watercolor pencil, which I think is a slightly better pencil than the Lyra. But I think the Lyra stacks up well against some of the finest watercolor pencils available today, at least in terms of the vibrancy, the layering, the pigment, and and sort of the quality that you get there. So at the end here, and we're coming up on it, I'll just give you my full ranking for all these different areas. 1 to 10, 1 being poor, 10 being the very best I've ever encountered. And so I'll give you the full ranking for all those different areas. Anyway, I thought they stacked up really, really well, and I like them. And I can feel very confident in recommending these Lyra Rembrandt Aquarell pencils. Now, I know people are doing a lot of adult coloring and types of other work with these pencils, and they seem to work well for that as well. I've been around checking other people who use these pencils on YouTube, and they seem to enjoy them. And so, yeah, I like them, and I think they're great. So, well, here's the ranking for these, and take a look yourself, see if you agree, and don't forget to let me know if you have other thoughts about these or what have you. I always like to get feedback from people who use the products as well, and can give me some feedback on what they think. Well, I guess that just about wraps up our look at the Lyra Rembrandt Aquarell watercolor pencils today. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Leave a comment or a question. I always love to get those, and I try to respond fast to those. And don't forget to share the video. All right, everybody, so long for now. This has been Marty for owingsart.com. Have a great day.